Hey everyone, welcome to the AutoMarketplace podcast. Today we have Jeremy Moskovich from Voyager Global Mobility, the company behind Fast Track and Buggy, well-known rental brands. Jeremy, welcome back to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure to be here.
And so today we're going to get right into the substance. So you are you are launching a new TLC plate rental program. And so maybe a quick overview of what is Fast Track. That's the brand you're kind of launching the plate rental program in. And what are TLC plate rentals? And then we'll go from there.
Awesome. So as you said, our parent company has two sister companies, two flagship brands in New York, Buggy in Brooklyn and Fast Track in Queens. We have thousands of TLC rental vehicles. Our whole model has been driver-centric, gig driver-centric, weekly rentals, no strings attached, right? Rent the car, keep it as long as you need it, give us 7 days notice, and you can return it. So you're not stuck in a long-term contract.
And so for the audience, just like that's like a simple, like you're just saying, it's like a simple rental. It's like a TLC plate, the FHV, what they call diamond sticker with the vehicle. So like a full rental, all inclusive.
With insurance, with the TLC insurance, we manage the whole claims process with maintenance included, the triennial inspections that you need, as well as switches and changes for maintenance or after a collision, if we're able to re-underwrite you, all of that all included to try to keep you on the road as long as possible.
And so for the audience to kind of level set now, because now some people in New York will immediately understand, well, what is a TLC plate? What is that? Some people will be like, what is he even talking about, TLC plate rental? For the audience members that don't know, basically in New York, you need a special kind of commercial license plate. And so this program, and Jeremy's going to get into it, is basically the driver owns the car and they're renting the diamond sticker that allows them to drive for Uber or Lyft or whatever black card base. So in terms of pricing, let's say a vehicle rental obviously is going to vary. It's like $450 to $650 all in. Let's say depending on what car you have. Okay, I'll give you the floor. What is a TLC plate rental and why are you launching that? Like, what is that? Because I think a lot of people might be unfamiliar with it.
Perfect. So as you were explaining, this industry has two parts. Drivers have to be licensed and they have a TLC license. There's mine. And then that has to be matched for you to do any work in the city with a TLC plated vehicle. And that vehicle has to have certain insurance, which is, again, regulated and mandated by the city for the rideshare industry. Our bread and butter is renting the plate and the insurance with the vehicle. However, based on a lot of interest from drivers, and honestly, this started because one of our vehicle purchase orders was a little bit backed up, and so I kind of had empty plates sitting there, is to attach our plates to the vehicles of drivers, TLC drivers, who do own their own car, right? Or finance their own car. And so what this product is us renting the plate to you for a year, including the insurance, and doing everything soup to nuts, A to Z, to give you the ability to use your car for the TLC industry. So this is marketed to people who have their TLC license and who have access to a vehicle. It can't be a leased vehicle because leases don't allow you to work commercially.
Basically, the title of the car has to be in whoever's renting the plate, the title of the car. Obviously, we can get into
we'll get into the details, but yeah, you have to have the title, you have to have the car, and then you come to us, and we handle all the complications, and we get you back on the road in your own vehicle with our plate.
So question number one, I think, and this is me narrating, but then I'll give the floor back to you, is that one, some people might be like, okay, this, it like sounds like a duck, quack like a duck, walks like a duck. This seems like a medallion type situation, right? I guess the first question is why get into this business? And I guess more importantly, there's a driver demand. It's like drivers are demanding this sort of product. How would you explain that to someone? What is the difference between a plate rental and a medallion rental, and why are drivers demanding this product? That's probably the best way to start versus why you're getting into the business versus there's a driver demand for plate rentals.
Yeah, look, I'm not, you're much more of an expert on diamonds and medallions and medallion prices. We're not in the taxi industry. I don't actually know much about yellow cabs and the difference of, owning the car or whatnot. But what I'll say is there are many kinds of TLC drivers in New York. And what we're trying to do is serve the demands and the requests of all of them. So you have a subset of people, a large subset of people that for many reasons can't or don't want to buy their own car and invest the money and the depreciation of running your car 40,000 New York City miles, which is like 80,000 regular miles. And they don't want to do that. Some people are new to the country and they don't have enough credit history to go get a lease to buy a car. Other people are financing to buy a car. Other people have bad credit. And let's be honest, like it happens. I would guess we don't run credit checks on our rentals, but a lot of our drivers probably have very bad credit and they are digging their way out of debt. And this is a job that helps them do it. And we love that we give them the tools to do that. There's other people who don't want to use their cars, their own car, that's their equity that they've invested in this business, right? You get rear-ended and your car is down, you're not making money. It doesn't matter how good of a driver you are. So there's a huge subset of people that don't want their own car. There's another subset of people that we're learning more about and hearing from that own their own car, that want to invest in their car, that want to finance their car, or they have enough cash to buy it and they want to keep upgrading their car every 2 years to stay on Uber
And
Black
and feel
XL
and
or
feel like they
whatever.
have more control over their business, that they own their own car.
Yep. And like it or not, they can't get a plate. Some of them would actually not want the responsibility of a plate and finding the insurance that's needed or whatnot. Others just don't have the choice because there's a plate cap. But whatever, that's the regulatory political side. But there's drivers that want to rent this. And I think we're going to get into the pricing and terms and why we think we're different and what we're trying to do to differentiate ourselves and make this really a driver centric product. Um, People are enjoying it. We've only soft launched very quietly. We have about 15 drivers on the road already and 30 in the process. We haven't done any marketing, but through word of mouth over the last 30 days. And now we've worked out the kinks and we're ready to go big. And I think there's going to be huge demand for this.
Yeah, no, and just to add two kind of like a minute, not even to what you just said, in my small fleet, it's mostly plate rentals now, and how I came into it, and I recently discussed this on a podcast with Harry Campbell of the Rideshare Guy and Driverless Digest, was when the vehicle renewal cycle was there, I just asked my drivers, I said, do you want me to buy a new car, or this is an opportunity for you to buy your own car? And almost all of them wanted to buy their own cars, and some common reasons were, well, I want to build a credit score. I want to get credit, towards my credit score. Another reason, because, a lot of immigrants come here, like for the DR as an example, they will, well, I want to buy a car. And then the strategy is after 4 or 5 years, I'll ship it to the DR or West Africa, make my money there. So this is really a driver driven product. And okay, so let's get into pricing. So
Yeah,
how much are you charging for a plate rental, and how should we think about pricing?
great. So we're charging $115 a week for the plate rental, right? For the plate itself and the entire process, I'll come back to that, of attaching and managing the plate. And then we're adding TLC insurance. We have our own insurance policy. We are not part of American Transit. We are not part of Hereford or Maya. So we have full, complete control over who we underwrite and how we underwrite them and who we put in the car. So I can immediately approve you, right? Or another driver based on what we look at, the driving record and any history we have, and I can decide yes or no. I don't need Addict's approval. I don't need Hereford or anything else. I'm also in control of my insurance premiums. I guess everybody is. Once it's set, that's the same price throughout the year. But so that is, I think, a differentiator from other smaller fleets that, are still using those regular commercial
And I
policies.
just want to build on your point that you're making right now. So just I mean, people in the TLC industry will know this. There's basically two insurance options for all drivers and fleets that are not that are not sizable. There's American Transit, Hereford. There's very well-known issues going on at Attic that the industry is trying to deal with. But basically right now, I can tell you, and Jeremy will know this, that there are a lot of drivers, their insurance premiums are skyrocketing. And I've even run into drivers who've emailed me who are not getting approved from American Transit or Hereford. So they're basically being what I call deactivated by insurance. So they can't even get insurance. So the fact that you, as a larger fleet can offer your own insurance is quite unique for the people who don't appreciate it. So,
Yeah.
okay, so 115.
If you're a crappy driver, though, with lots of accidents, you're not getting approved.
Yeah, no, it's not that. That doesn't mean
but
we
yes.
shouldn't invite everybody to exactly.
No, and so to answer your question, it's $115 and it's $174 for the TLC insurance. What we're doing is trying to make this complicated process as simple as possible. So that price is locked in for the next 56 weeks. We're doing actually 13-month contracts. You are guaranteed that insurance price. There's no up and down. The reason the first few people that we guinea pigged this with got a lower insurance price because they got the tail end of this year's insurance, but I already know my insurance prices are going up next year, not because of anything we did wrong, but because of the looming insurance crisis, which you'll have other podcasts on and you've written a lot about. But I already know that, and so that's why, from today forward, for the next year, it's 289 total, but that's 115 plus 174 locked in, not going to change. You're not going to get, when you apply, you're not going to get a different insurance rate based on your driving history. You're either good enough to drive with us or you're not. And that will be
so for like you said, let's say 290 or 289 per week, and a vehicle rental will be 450, 500, 550 per week. And then, so that's kind of the comparison. So just doing the quick math, let's say 300 times 412, let's say it's like 1,100 per month, but 1,100 per month, basically, and you're bringing your own car, gives you full access to New York City TLC, the New York City TLC for hire market, which, most drivers will tell you that that's a pretty reasonable entry cost into it. I just want to mention in terms of the medallion industry, because I know this, there's a Dove model, which is driver owned vehicle, which is kind of a predecessor, kind of a analogous thing to this, to rent a medallion per week. And, we don't have to get into that, but, it's on the order of magnitude, it's much more expensive. Let's put it that way. Not without, and there's reasons for that, but it's much, much more expensive. So
let me actually highlight the payment terms because I want to put it black and white. We are charging a $1,000 deposit, 115 a week plus 174 a week. So a $1,000 deposit, 289 a week, 56 weeks, price locked in. You're done. What it includes is all of the registration costs, all of the TLC costs, and all of that process done for you. So maybe it makes sense to transition into the process and some of what we've learned. But with that price, what you're getting is essentially white glove service. You're driving into our garage in Queens. You're meeting with our staff. You're paying your first part a $500 down payment on the deposit, and then leaving your car with us. We surrender your plates. We go to the DMV. We get the new plate attached to the car, get any plate letter that's needed from the TLC. We get the registration sticker. We schedule the TLC appointment. We pay all the TLC fees, and we actually take your car to the TLC inspection. And then we call you to pick up your car, and you're on the road to go.
I think this is let's talk about the technicalities on a high level, but just because a lot of people will be like, well, how does a plate rental work? Like, how do I own a car? The Fast Track plate, like, how is that working?
Yep.
Maybe let's go step by step. Like, what is the process for a driver? Okay, a driver buys it. Number one, a driver has to buy a car. Okay, a driver buys a car. He comes to you. How does he rent your plate? Like, what is the process?
Great. I actually think before I answer that, it's important for people to understand the regulatory requirements. And so when a diamond is purchased, you think of it as a license plate, but really it's that sticker number, but that sticker number is attached to that license plate. When you get that license plate, when we got it back in 2017 originally, it is under a specific name or an LLC. All of ours are under LLCs. There's plenty of people who are having a different experience who are renting individual plates, which is kind of a gray area. we like to operate in the green or in a totally appropriate area. So that license plate is always linked to that original entity that purchased it, that original LLC. The registration is required to match that LLC. So I cannot primarily register the car in your name or anybody's name. And the insurance holder, right, also has to match the registration. So there's a huge element of this that has to be in Fast Track's name or any company or any individual. And so that's an important thing for people to realize why they're like, well, why can't I go to the DMV? Why can't you just let... There are plenty of smaller companies or individuals that allow the customer to just go to the DMV and then they pay all the DMV fees and they give them the paperwork. For better or worse, we are a very large company with a board and with investors, and we're not going to give out powers of attorney and all these documents and TLC access that also has access to 1,000 other plates or something like that to everybody to go to the DMV themselves. So what we tried to do is build almost a foolproof process where they don't have to do anything, but it does require them to have a little bit of understanding of the process and faith in us as a company. But come to our Queens building, like this isn't in a random garage. This is we are a real company. We've been around for over 10 years, 15 years. And so,
just to double click on your point, what you're talking about, and we'll get into it, because I think really what people are interested in, the technicalities, like how does this even work? What you're talking about is, let's say I'm an individual. So 70%-ish, 65 plus percentage of TLC plates are owned in an individual, are claimed by an individual. So what you're talking about is the registration is in, John Smith's name. And then some other driver comes and that individual rents out his FHV, his TLC plate to another person. And that's kind of a peer-to-peer transaction. What the issue I've seen with that is sometimes John Smith might have quit the TLC industry. That's why he's renting out his plate. And then 6 months later, he's like, you know what? I didn't like trucking. I'm coming back, give me back my TLC plate. And the driver's like, what do you mean? Like, I have a 6-year loan. I bought this car to rent out your TLC plate. So to your point, sometimes with individuals, if it's your like friend or your relative, that's different. But to do this on a peer-to-peer basis can get dicey, especially when a driver is committing to a 5-6 year auto loan in the background.
There's another issue with this, that it's not that it's it's not necessarily done in a malicious way, but I've heard stories where it is. But because of what I mentioned about the registration and the insurance on the peer-to-peer model, or really any model, the title holder of the car is re-registering the car in that company or individual's name, right? So that John Smith example, whoever is owning the car is trusting John Smith because they are registering that car in John Smith's name. What does that mean? You get pulled over, car goes into impound. Only John Smith can get that car out. In the government's eyes, you may be the title holder, but you're not the registrant. And so you have no legal connection to that car. That car can almost be stolen from you in a way. And that's what's really dangerous in this.
And I think that's really important to clarify. So because people might be wondering, like, what do you mean the title? So when, just to make it clear to drivers, when you buy a car and then you go to Fast Track, the ownership of the car is not changing at all. The owner, a lot of people get confused by that. They're like, okay, if I'm renting a plate, does that mean the title is changing? The DMV registration is changing, to your point, to match, your corporate, so you can get the insurance. But the driver is still the title holder of the car. That is not changing. I think that's a very important thing for drivers.
Yeah, and I want to emphasize another, like we'll come back to the driver-centric model, but people are very confused about this. And that is why we wanted to take the time to learn over the last month with the first 30 people or so. But, we're having 30-minute conversations with everyone in the process, going through their documents. We have customer support in Spanish, in Russian, in Arabic, in Hindi, whatever, not whatever, but we also have apps to translate live. we're translating, we're talking to people in their own language, and still when they get here, there is confusion and there's trust that has to be built, and there's questions that we will answer 6 times in a row, and that's fine. But yes, absolutely, people get confused about the ownership of the car. What we're doing is we're actually co-registering the car. It's an extra step, but for us, it's worth it. So we are the first registrant. That is what shows up on the sticker on the front of the windshield. But in the DMV database, on a legal basis, we're keeping the customer or the title holder as the second registrant. And one, it's to build trust, and two, I don't ever want to be accused of potentially stealing someone's car, and I want them to know that our goal, we have to follow the rules, but our goal is to give them as much control and power as possible.
And so you're doing this in a super professional, above the board way, which is very important for drivers to hear. The other thing I think I want to mention on this, I know we're getting to the weeds, but I think it's really important because these are the things that drivers are interested in.
Yeah.
When a driver buys a car, a lot of people are confused that it actually takes the DMV 3 to 5 weeks to get them their title. Can you just briefly touch on that? Because I think a lot of people think that, okay, I buy a car, I get the DMV registration same day. How come I can't immediately rent a plate? Do you want to just briefly explain that? Because I think that's a thing that I have to spend a lot of time explaining to drivers.
Yeah, and actually one of the first people that called us about the plate rental, he just came in yesterday to get his car after it got the plates on it, after really a month and a half, because he started even before we officially started it because of this problem. So when you buy a car and when you finance a car, which is most people, you're buying the car at the dealer, you get the car with dealer plates, and you can even apply for a registration sticker and get a plate at the DMV. They give you the paperwork to do that with almost the MCO or MSO, it's called both things, which is the birth certificate or the social security number, the social security card of the car. And you use that to apply for the title, which is like the birth certificate. The title application process, getting that piece of paper, can take 4 to 6 weeks from the dealership, and it's done by the lessor, by the bank. And so it involves a bunch of steps before it's actually mailed to you. And we cannot process the transaction at the DMV without the title. So that's what holds us back. So we're telling customers, keep your car, drive your kids to school, drive your spouse to work, come to us when you actually have the title, because I don't want your car sitting in my garage for 4 weeks.
Exactly. And this is a really important point, because I think a lot of drivers will buy a car and say, okay, boom, I'm ready. I got the normal DMV plates. Drivers should understand that if they buy a car, they should expect to wait 4 to 6 weeks before they can get a title. And without a title in their name or their spouse's name, but let's say in their name, they cannot rent a plate because you need the title. So, okay, exactly. Step one, driver buys a car, waits 4 to 6 weeks to get the title. Okay, now the driver has the title. He comes to Fast Track. And we'll provide a link to where your office is.
So first of all, I just want to say, don't walk in, because there's steps you got to do before. So you apply online with the link that you're going to put here, and our team is going to call you back. You can also call us and you'll get connected to them. They're going to walk you through this whole process so that you understand it. They're first going to check your title, right, and make sure. And we're learning things like I got for the first time an Ohio title. The truth is, we never knew or thought about if you can even do that or apply for the. And those are side cases, but let's assume it's a tri-state title. We're going to look through it. We also, if you have a history with us, we're going to look through that. We don't want you to show up and then owe a balance or get confused. We're going to pull your driving record, and we're going to approve you, pre-approve you on the insurance side. If the title is not in your name, it must be in someone else's name. Only one person on the title, not 2 people. If it doesn't have your name on it. Whoever's name is on the title has to come with you to the appointment in person, because they are the one.
An immediate question I have, it just came to me, is there a way for a driver, let's say they're like, before I buy a car, I want to check if Fast Track will approve my insurance. Is that possible?
Yeah, they can apply without the title, and they'll talk to the sales team about that. And we can approve them. We just won't set the appointment to come in before they.
Because that might be that if drivers are listening to this thing like, oh, I'm ready to rent a plate, but it's like, oh, what if I don't get approved for insurance? There's a way to reach out to you before they decide to buy a car and check if they're going to be approved for insurance, and that's possible.
Yep. They should just apply, and then we'll work.
Okay, so let's say it's not that, let's say they get approved for insurance, they got the title, they come to you, they email you the documents, you approve them for insurance. What's the
So
next step
you
after
make an
that?
appointment to come into our office. At the moment, because it's so much time and talking through, we're doing 2 a day. But Tuesday through Friday, Monday's a very big rental pickup and return day. So we're trying to just schedule it appropriately so that you're not wasting time with us because your time is valuable. So you come in for your appointment, you bring your paper, you bring the title, paper title, even though you've already sent it to us, and you bring your car and you drive it in. Our fleet team is going to do an initial inspection. If you got tint, if you have tints on the car, if you have a grill on the front, like an added grill, certain things that we just know the TLC is going to fail, we will either get you a quote for us to take it off or ask you to take it off in the meantime, or tell you that your car is going to fail TLC and then you can bring it back after. But so you bring in your car, you sit in our office, you talk through everything, you pay a $500 deposit. So you pay half of your deposit now, and then you're going to sign a power of attorney document that allows us to do transactions at the DMV on behalf of the title holder, right? Because it's our registration, all that, but the title holder is going to sign that power of attorney. You're then going to fill out and sign with us the MV82, I think it is, the actual like registration application for the DMV. And you're going to sign a deposit form that just says you paid 500 and you're leaving the car in our hands. And you check off whether you want to take the car to the TLC appointment or you want us to take it. We're just trying to ask that ahead of time.
And I just want to reiterate, the title is not, I know you know this, Jeremy, but just for the drivers, because the driver still owns the car. The title is not changing hands. Anyways, I just
You're
want
not
to
even
add that
leaving
in.
the title with us.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
just do a double-sided photocopy. Most people are sending us the front page, and you need double
exactly.
side for the DMV. You're taking the title home. We don't do anything with the
Yeah.
title.
I just want to reiterate that because I'm sure you've heard of it when I've done this.
Yeah.
Like, I think a lot be like, well, am I selling the car? Like, I think they get very nervous about that. Okay.
Yeah,
So
so you do all of that.
yeah.
I do want to add one requirement. We put a GPS tracker in the car. It's non-invasive. It can't mess up anything. But we do put that in all of the vehicles. It is not an immobilizer. It cannot deactivate or stop your car from turning on. We do have that in our rental product where
It's
it's
not a
our
starter
vehicle.
interrupt. It's
And
not
if
a
you
starter
don't, right,
interrupt.
and if you don't pay us for 2 weeks and you can't reach us and you stop answering the phone, with these cars, it's a GPS tracker for the benefit of us being able to track our plate, right? And actually, no one has had a problem with it, and actually, people are relieved. They're like, "So if my car gets stolen, I can call you and you'll help me find it." Yes, of course.
And is there a dash camera requirement you have?
The truth is, we don't have a requirement at the moment. In many of our rental cars, we're offering free dash cams with Nexar. Um, and so we're just out of those right now. So we're not requiring it, but we may put those in the future. We may offer it for free. That's up in the air.
Got it.
Um, but
Okay,
so
so
so you
yeah.
leave your car that day or the following morning, you're going to get a text message from us with your FS-6. I should have brought my little examples for you, but that is a formal state document that you get when you surrender the plates, when we give back your old plates.
Your normal DMV place that you got from the dealer, basically.
Correct. Or from anybody.
Or from anybody, yeah.
Yeah. So you're going to get that form from us. What that allows you to do is cancel your Geico or Liberty or Mutual, whatever insurance that you have, your regular insurance for your car. And that's all you need is the picture of that. Then, once we surrender the plates and you've canceled your insurance, we submit the DMV application for you. We wait 24 to 36 hours because there can be hiccups if the DMV has certain insurance and a certain plate assigned to your VIN, your vehicle, and then we go and apply a different plate to that vehicle. So we like to give the DMV time because it's always better to give them an extra 24 hours than to wait 4 days and then get a rejected application and then start over. So we give the DMV application. When we get that back, it gives us the ability to attach the plate to the car and the registration sticker. They're giving us the
TLC
registration
plate,
sticker.
your TLC plate to the car, and then it's officially TLC plated, basically.
Plated, but not eligible to be used. The next step is that we go and fill out paperwork and apply with the TLC to let them know this is the new registration for this car. They have to accept that. We pay a fee, And then they start the scheduling process for a TLC inspection. Sometimes, and it's been great recently, it's within a day or 2 days. Sometimes they don't answer the scheduling email for 4 days and then they schedule it for a week out. It depends. Like there's certain tricks. Don't email them at 3 o'clock on a Friday because they have to manually go through the emails and then you're going to be backed up for the Monday one. There's all different things, but it can take anywhere from a few days to a week. Um, and that's it. There's plenty of hiccups along the way. So the reality is that from the moment you drive in, it can be 4 to 6 weeks till you get back on the road.
And just on the TLC inspection, can the driver, once you put the new DMV registration and then your TLC plates on it, can the driver then pick up his car and then go to the inspection himself, or are you going to the inspection?
What's included in the price and the service is us going to the inspection and delivering you a car that works. Once we actually get the plate and the approval from the TLC, right? There's a step in between, just a technical step of not actually getting the schedule, but like them confirming that they received our payment and the VIN is connected. A driver can pick up the car and then we will coordinate with them to go to their TLC appointment. But it's very important that drivers understand TLC appointments are timed and it's a specific day. And so if you miss 7 a.m. on Friday and you go at 9 a.m. or you go the next Monday, that's not going to cut it. And we're going to have to reschedule and it's going to delay everything. So we prefer to go, but we're happy for drivers to pick it up. The most important thing that we explain to people, though, is your payments, your rental contract starts when you take the car out of our garage. So whether or not you've passed TLC, you're going to start paying.
And,
Uh, but it's
and
important to note,
yeah.
we're not charging you for that. Even if your process takes 6 weeks, you're not paying us rent for those 6 weeks. All you've paid is the deposit.
In a way, and that's an important point, you're disincentivized to make the process take longer than it needs to because you're not charging, to your point, until it's kind of the vehicle is TLC plated and ready to go. Okay, this is kind of an unfair thing, but if we had to do a 1 to 2 minute summary of all the steps, I'll leave it with you, like a 1 to 2 summary of all the steps. How would you kind of simply frame it now that you've
Sure.
gone to the details?
So you apply through our website and get generally approved. You come in with your paper title and with the vehicle, and you pay $500. You leave the car in our garage. We're going to run through the entire step, and we'll send you texts along the way of each step that you cleared. And then you're going to come back after it's past TLC. We've scheduled the appointment. We brought the car for you. It has passed TLC. The car is on open data within 2 hours, and you come back and you pay another $500 deposit so that it's $1,000 and you officially start your rental contract. And then you're paying us weekly. It's also important to note that all of our fast track and buggy contracts, including these, are post pay, meaning you pick up on a Thursday and you're not paying us your first week of rent until next Thursday. We give you the time to make the money before you have to pay us.
And just so people know the timeline, and you already said this, but from the day they walk into your office, assuming that they're approved for insurance, they drop their car off. You're saying best case scenario,
weeks.
4 to 6. Okay, they might get it sooner, but realistically 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, and here's where it's different between us and maybe a smaller fleet or an individual who's renting. And again, like make your choice. If you want to rent from an individual, go ahead and do it. I have a lot of people that complain and they say, I don't understand. My friend is able to go to the DMV today and just get the plates and give it to me, or I'm able to go to the DMV on my friend's behalf. That's true. And that's an individual making an appointment. I will say a lot of the DMVs are backed up and you cannot get a same day registration appointment. You might be waiting a week. We don't do the individual appointments. We're doing hundreds of DMV transactions a week. And so we use the corporate desk, right? And we're dropping off maybe 15 transactions at once, including our rental stuff. And sometimes we can get it back the next day. But other times, because it's 15, it's going to be 3 days. And we send someone to the DMV every day to pick up the packets. And so when people say, well, I don't understand why it would take 3 or 4 days when I can go, that's one example, right? Another example is we have thousands of license plates. I'm choosing based on if I don't want to replace this car or that car, which ones I'm transferring. Some have previous summonses on them. Some I'm taking out of storage because I put them there for a little bit. I may need to get a plate letter. Some plates are bent, right? And TLC is going to fail that. And so it's better for me to get a plate letter, which means I'm just getting a new license plate number tied to my diamond. And that's going to add 3 days to the step. I can't put everything into a box and say every single person is going to be like this because we're such a big company with so many different plates and issues and things that could happen. But what I can promise is that we will keep you updated. You will always have a 24/7 number that you can call to ask. I may not have the answer that you want, but we'll tell you. And we are trying to offer this as seamless as possible, but also as low cost as possible. I
And the
think
other,
many other fleets charge a huge upfront cost for insurance because they need that. The insurance companies are requiring it. We have that flexibility. We're literally only charging you $1,000. The DMV fees, it's a registration cost $500. A TLC plate renewal is $680 or something like that. So we're including all those fees essentially in the deposit, and that's it. So
and another point is that the driver can buy they can bring a hybrid, they can bring a gas car, they can bring an electric vehicle. That's a really, just so drivers know that this is not like EV only or, any of that. So
that's
I
a
think
great
that's
point.
yeah,
We have gasoline diamonds or ice diamonds, as I call it.
yeah.
We don't have any EV diamonds. We didn't win that lottery when they did that lottery. And so we really have the flexibility to attach any car we want,
So a driver can buy a hybrid
whatever
and
they want.
get a plate.
Yeah.
Or he or she can buy a
Yes,
hybrid and get a plate.
exactly. One point I want to add on the rules. Um, we're not we really pride ourselves on not being a leasing company. And so we don't lock people into year-long rental contracts or multi-year. For this process, because it's so intensive of switching the diamond and all of that, it is a 56-week contract. It is 13 months. But we were struggling with this, right? Because we don't want to be seen as cornering people and locking people in, but it can't just be every week you change the plate. So what we did is we came up with a 6-week cancellation. So you're signing up for a 56-week contract. Your price is locked in, the 115 and the 174 for insurance. I can't change that on you, and I won't change that on you. And
And to
insurance
be,
is a big piece because other people are fluctuating the insurance price. We're locking that in.
yeah.
However, you can cancel within 6 weeks. You give us 6 weeks notice for us to work on transferring it to somebody else, and you only lose half of your deposit, $500. If you just return the plates the next day or you skip town and we have to repo the car, repo the plates or whatever, you lose your $1,000 deposit. But it's really not that much in the grand scheme of things. So we think that's pretty fair and gives us that balance of like the work that it takes to transfer a plate.
No, that makes sense. Okay, so I think the technicalities and everything, now as we kind of get near the end of at least this podcast, I'm sure we'll have, if you're willing to, we'll have you on for other topics and, stuff like that. I think it's kind of to conclude this, Fast Track or Buggy, you are not getting out of the vehicle rental business and like everything is switching over to TLC plates. Like, this is maybe just to get a sense of it, like this is an option you're offering, but in the future it might not be there. Like, how should people think about this? Because let's say 200 drivers listen to this and they're like, okay, boom, that's the plate rental. And then 6 months from now, they're listening to this podcast like, oh, Fast Track, offers TLC plate rentals. I think it's an important point to make that this is like you're doing this right now, but it's not going to be the majority of your business per se.
No, it won't be the majority of the business. And again, going back to those different types of customers, I think we really want to be able to serve those customers that are getting into the industry that don't have credit, that can't get a car or don't want a car. And so that will always be a core part of our business. We want to grow this. We are going to run out, right? But I also think there will be people who return their plates. And so what I would say is right now, yeah, you should sign up. And again, the price can go up. I'm not going to increase the price once you sign your contract, but the price will continue to go up as we see the costs and manage the costs. But we have hundreds, 1 to 200 plates available. I personally want to see this get to 300, 400. And then we would sort of figure out what to do. And then it's a business decision, but it's never going to replace rental. We're always going to have the rental option. And we actually don't have a lot of rentals available right now because we're pretty sold out. But that'll be a balance. But for now, anyone who wants a plate should be able to come and get it. Just to clarify, we are running this out of our Fast Track brand. We're trying to unify it. Buggy customers are welcome, former Buggy customers, but don't show up in Brooklyn with your car. Everything should come to Queens. It's also much closer to the TLC inspection location. So just
And we'll provide the links and the location, everything in the description here. Okay, so Jeremy, I think you did a really good job kind of overviewing what TLC plates are, what the TLC plate rental business are. I think a lot of drivers are shifting to this model. They prefer owning their own car for various reasons, like we spoke about before. Is there anything we're missing? There's any other things that you wanted to add, or you think we kind of did a good job of
no, I
overviewing
think we
the
I think
plate
we hit
rental?
it. I'll say one question we get a lot that I forgot about is the insurance that we're providing is the TLC liability insurance, right? That is medical bills, that is hitting somebody and the cost, their medical bills of the people in the other car or in your car, or you hit a pedestrian. And that's what people talk about as they talk about TLC insurance. It's the most expensive. What we do not cover is the insurance for your vehicle, comprehensive and collision insurance. A tree falls on your car or you cause the accident and your car is damaged, you have to pay to fix it. And so we explain that. Also, maintenance is on the car owner in this situation. We don't want to be responsible for your maintenance. And then it's a question of, did we do something wrong to your car? You're responsible for the maintenance. But a lot of a lot of banks require comprehensive coverage. A lot of people want comprehensive coverage, and it's very hard to get that from a Geico or a Liberty Mutual if you're not also doing the liability. So we only provide the liability, but we are working with a partner that you introduced us to actually, who provides that to TLC drivers. And so anyone who asks, we're able to give it to them, and they seem to be having
And
a
that's a really important point. And that if a driver does want comp and collision insurance or physical damage insurance, they can still get it, but you're not going to provide that product.
It's an extra
That's
step
what
that
the
they have to do. But again, we give them the template to email their VIN and say they're a Fast Track plate renter, and they're able to get a quote, right
Yeah.
away.
The only thing, this is my concluding thoughts, and then you can have the last word, is that I think for those drivers who are looking at this, and this is not Jeremy's advice, is that in the future, if you want a wheelchair accessible vehicle, you can get your own TLC plate right now. In the future, if someone is trying to game out, well, what if they launch, release TLC plates in the future, and then all of this stuff, I would say this, that, if a future TLC plate release is done, it's almost certainly only going to be EV. So I think another important point here is that if you're not comfortable, if you don't want to invest in an EV for various reasons, and you want a hybrid or a gas car, I think the plate rental business right now, at least for the next, the foreseeable future, given the EV mandate, is the way to go. It's a pretty cost-effective way to do it. So I just want to get that out to drivers that,
Yeah.
if they're trying to game out that, oh, the plates will be released in the future, it's almost certainly they're not going to release any non-EV plates. That's almost a certainty given the mandate.
And I personally don't think they're just like gonna open the gates. But even if they did, you have a 6-week cancel. Like maximum, you're on the hook for $1,000. And if you truly believe that owning your own plate and dealing with it and going through and getting your own insurance is going to be cheaper in the long run, then $1,000 shouldn't matter because you're going to make that back over the years. So
exactly, and that's a good point. But if they buy like hybrids are loved by drivers. If they buy a hybrid and they enter in a 5-6 year like auto loan, and they're like, I'm just trying to tell, like, basically my point, I think you would agree with this, obviously not financial advice. It is highly unlikely that TLC is going to release kind of non-EV plates in the future outside of wheelchair accessible vehicles.
Extremely unlikely.
Yeah. And so then a driver's entering on a 5-6 year auto loan, and also you are not providing the auto loan. I should clarify that.
Right. No, we don't provide the auto loan. And so there are other products out there that are lease to own, LTO. They usually don't come with the diamond, but you're essentially renting that license plate while you're paying the person who owns the license plate for the car. I would say what this offers is it puts the title holder even more in control, the driver more in control of saying they can go out and find whatever bank interest rate they want. And here's a way to get a plate. And like, look, we care about we have many long-term customers who know us, we know them. We're not here to screw people over. You know, you mess with our cars, you stop paying, of course we're going to kick you out. But we're not like I'm going to keep renewing people as long as we're doing the plate rental business. You're with us as long as you keep paying, right? And so there's very little risk to the drivers who are already planning to buy their own car.
Exactly. Well, Jeremy, unless there's anything else to add, I think we did a really good job going over it. I'll provide, you did a really good job going over it. I'll provide the links and the description to how to contact you guys, you know, to start the plate rental process if a driver's interested in that. And, you know, thank you very much for your time. Hopefully we'll have you back on. And, you know, I think this is a really interesting product and, you know, I wish you guys luck.
Thanks for your help. All right. Take care.